This is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. We're here on Xbox Series S, diving into the lower-end Xbox console and seeing what the beta has to offer gameplay-wise. So, yeah, be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So for here, we have the latest entry in the series doing its beta event, which is mostly, about kind of checking out the network, making sure that the game is sort of running, making sure that there's no sort of real big bugs, but honestly, in the modern era, betas are mostly about marketing, and this is part of the marketing machine that is Call of Duty. So we took a look at this on the Series X, we took a look at this on the PlayStation 5, and now I'm finally taking a look at it on the Series S, and wow, these are some low-resolution assets. Yeah, so apparently it's like a bit of a texture streaming issue. I think Series S just kind of looks like this in general, but anyways, it is what it is. Let's dive in and talk about this overall experience. So the big thing here is the Omni Movement. So you're now able to walk backwards, or move backwards, like a real person, or side dive, or side slide, or side move around. You can basically move... How did that guy kill me? In a 360-degree... sort of perspective and setup, and it's the big marketing thing for Call of Duty, but it's honestly like a bit of a gimmick, because it is a natural evolution of the movement in Call of Duty. It's great, feels fine, but after like the first match or two where you're fiddling around with it and doing weird dives and stuff, it really doesn't change the gameplay that much. You just occasionally get to do a heroic side move, and yeah, the appeal of it kind of dies down pretty quickly, because you're just like, oh, okay, you can just move around and stuff like that, like a regular person would. Because in real life, you can, dive and slide like that any way you want, because that's just how we move as people. Which is cool to see it in the video game. Like, this is the best backwards movement I've ever seen in a video game. Like, usually when you're playing a game, you just walk backwards, it's like your character's just awkwardly stiffly moving backwards, but in this game you've got like actual sway and motion, and like it feels more natural. It's a good evolution of things for sure, gameplay wise. So it doesn't necessarily like change things up too much from that perspective. It's fine. Like I genuinely have no issues with the movement, but it is kind of funny that it's like sort of a big hyped up kind of game mode when it really doesn't change things a whole lot gameplay wise. But yeah, like I said, it's cool, and the one in whatever many minutes of gameplay you're playing where you're like, oh, this move actually helps me, might make it worth it, but yeah, it's not necessarily like a big game changer, because allegedly this had the longest development cycle of any Call of Duty game ever, and I was just kind of expecting that there would be some more evolutionary sort of aspect, or revolutionary part of the game that really, kind of takes it to that, I don't know, next level of quality and or gameplay, and this actually feels like a downgrade. Even here on the Series S, visually, it feels like a downgrade compared to what we were playing when it comes to Modern Warfare 3.2 in the previous year. I was just kind of expecting something more current gen or visually upgraded. I don't know if that's because they had lots of things they had to work on, but with Activision being owned by Xbox, I'm kind of, or was expecting to have like a really clean, premium sort of experience. As it does seem across platforms, there's definitely some like freezes that happen, and some like low texture things, and you can't turn off texture streaming anymore at all, where some people are saying that might be like the problem in regards to the visuals. So yeah, and some folks will be like, oh, just turn off the texture streaming, and it's like, you can't. Wow, we're getting smoked this match, 166-3. Our team is not playing the objective in the slightest. So anyways, let's dive in and talk a little bit about the visual aspect of this game. Holy, this is getting a little bad here. What's that guy trying to do? Run up and like smack me a bunch or something? Very, very weird. So we're currently playing on the 120 Hz mode, so it's like a dynamic 1080p, and it's really dynamic. Trying to hit 120 FPS, but the Series S is not going to hit really close to 120 FPS, or well, it's gonna like attempt to get up there, but you probably get like 90, 100, which is, not too bad. It's more fluid than regular gameplay, but the picture hit quality for the Series S version is pretty drastic. Like, this really is quite muddy visually. Like, I'm not Like, it's very unappealing. Like, it's nice to have the higher frame rate so you can stay kind of competitive with the Series S. I appreciate that they offer this sort of game mode. But, yeah, it is pretty visually unappealing from an aesthetic standpoint. It makes things look very murky and undetailed. Wow, my team is awful. Oh, there's 6-on-3. Let's switch up lobbies. So we switched lobbies, and we also switched the visual mode option. So we went from the 120Hz mode, which was at 1080p, into the 1440p dynamic at 60 FPS, which does present a much clearer picture quality. It's still quite a bit down from what I saw on the Series X, which obviously makes a lot of sense, but the picture quality is a lot more clear in comparison to what we're seeing with the intensely dynamic 1080p mode that is present with the 120Hz option. So I thought I would kind of show off both of them, and we'll eventually do a full review of the game in the future, where we'll talk more in depth about all this sort of stuff when the game fully releases, just like we do every single year when it comes to Call of Duty stuff. And I don't know if you hear that little beep in the background, but apparently my AirPods are on the fritz because they're done charging or something. I don't know, it's a little strange. I don't know why they're kind of acting like that, but it is driving me nuts. So I guess people are just kind of standing around. This is so weird how people are not kind of doing anything. It's like they're not even real or something. It's so bizarre. I'm actually being revived. That's absolutely insane, because I guess I'm the HVC or something like that. Oh, it's 2-on-1. What is going on today? This is a great time for me to show off the visual settings. So the graphics, see, we have the 120Hz off. We had it on the other match. I also changed the first-person camera movement to 50%, because this is the first Call of Duty game I've ever played where I actually get like intense nausea and sickness. So if you're feeling that because of the Omni Movement, I would recommend that you go into that setting and you change it, as I think that will help you out. Another match, I guess. That's terribly weird. So I guess something weird was going on with that last match. It's always the Series S, am I right? I always have some sort of weird problem whenever I try to do anything on this platform. The poor little Series S. It's kind of funny. So this is the new map for the second day of the beta, which is when we're doing this review. I put most of my time into the day one, which was, I think, about 11 hours or so, at least, that I've put into this game at the current point in time, which is excessive, but, you know, when you're streaming, reviewing, covering stuff, that's just kind of the game and what it is in terms of doing coverage and trying to capitalize on these events. So here we have basically a situation, again, where it's the 1440p at 60 FPS, 4K on the Series S in my dreams. Oh, I'm the HVC. I don't really like this game mode. It's sort of like a bad take on, like, Regicide from Halo. Yeah, it's basically like Regicide from Halo, but they don't really give you clear indications on sort of what your teammates' sort of king thing is. Anyways, I digress. Let's focus on things. So the game on the Series S isn't, like, visually the best, which, again, makes sense if you're coming from other games. The Series S, you know, they're sort of doing their best. And this is probably as good as it can do because, you know, this is the lead kind of platform for Call of Duty, or it should be, since they, you know, Activision Blizzard goes bought by Xbox, so Xbox should be having their best foot forward in terms of visual quality and, you know, trying to make sure this setup is good for their platform. And obviously it's a step down from the Series X, but I don't think the Series X version of this game looks very good this year either, unless they're going to be updating it and improving it a bit. So that is something to keep in mind gameplay-wise. But, yeah, this is not bad. I think it's pretty in line with what we got last year with Modern Warfare 3.2 in terms of kind of like graphical setting options for the Series S. It's just the game itself isn't necessarily too insanely impressive. If you've seen my other review stuff, you know, I'm getting in that long-winded sort of discussion where I'm kind of like, longest dev cycle for COD game ever, and the results are sort of middling, and we're very safe. I'm enjoying this more than Cold War, but it definitely doesn't have that same sort of vibe and or excitement. This is a terrible match that I might be leaving in a sec here. And yeah, I don't like this game mode. I actually don't feel it fits very well for COD. Yeah, it's like team deathmatch with extra steps. I can't believe the guy actually got him with a grenade over there. So it sort of like plays it really safe, and I think gameplay-wise and aesthetically, it feels like a step down from what we were having with the Modern Warfare 3.2 experience. And it just isn't quite as fun to play. It seems like it's a bit more like sort of basic and or regular Call of Duty, and it doesn't have like the sharpness and the push aesthetic that Cold War did, which is odd. As much as I'm like not super into that one, I do think that that one had nice, vibrant visuals, and yeah, it's just kind of strange to have an experience here where I kind of felt like they didn't really push the envelope, considering all the time they had to potentially push the envelope. Omnidirectional movement is exciting and fun, but you know that excitement doesn't really last forever. So yeah, it's a little bit weird that they didn't really do anything else, and we'll have to see other maps and game modes, but the maps too have been pretty hit or miss for me. I kind of like this one, but you know, the Derelict, which is like a shipping yard, is awful. And then there's the other map that's like a big radar thing, Curb or Culb or something like that, I don't know. Got a name. Ugh. That map is kind of awful. And then, yeah, there's Skyline. I like Skyline, which is like an apartment thing, which we just played on for like 2 minutes before the match disconnected. But yeah, it kind of seems weirdly like they've got these like overly large kind of maps that don't fit very well for the traditional 6v6, because it's just like takes so long to get across them, and it's just like lots of empty space. Like, especially Team Deathmatch seems to suffer the most, where you're just kind of a lot of like quiet empty spaces and just kind of waiting, and then people camping in the far distance because there's just such a ground you have to kind of gain. It kind of feels like Call of Duty Ghosts almost, weirdly, like especially for the color palette, which is like more of a 360 era like gray brown sort of aesthetic that I thought we were a little bit past. And then you mix that in with the fact that like the maps are a little overly large and it's awkward to get around. Yeah, it's kind of got like a Ghosts vibe now that I'm thinking of it. Huh. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. Like, it's not terribly bad, but it's just not necessarily very exciting. Like, it's just kind of like sort of feeling bland and bland. The more I play it, the more I'm just kind of like, oh no. It's like, obviously I've got a whole year of coverage coming out for this one. You know, obviously we do all the coverage and the streams over the year of this, and it's like, I guess it's good that it's, you know, to me I'm enjoying it more than Cold War, but like, it's gonna be a long year because it's just not very thrilling or exciting, or doesn't really push the envelope in a way that really feels exciting, and because it feels like they both played it safe and then also kind of like took a bit of a step back gameplay wise from other stuff. And wow, I'm just dying a lot on this match. It's doing terrible. Yeah, eliminations, because it's not your actual kills. They try to make you feel better about yourself. It's depressing. Like, I need to know my actual KD ratio. It's like, yeah, I need to know how bad I'm doing video game. You don't need to sugarcoat it. And I don't know, maybe the full scope of this will be really, you know, exciting with other game modes and stuff, but yeah, it's just not necessarily that thrilling, and ugh, I'm gonna go to another match. The Series S just, ugh, man, always problems with this platform. Alrighty, let's keep going here, because apparently joining in progress and weird disconnected matches and stuff were my punishment for covering this on Series S. I had it coming, what can I say? So I think if you're looking for that usual Call of Duty experience, this one is kind of just basically hitting that. It just doesn't really do anything too thrilling or exciting or different, and it's, to me, it feels a little boring or bland, more so than usual. Which is weird, because the Call of Duty, you know, the bread and butter aspect of the series is that it's just sort of always got that really great shooter gameplay loop, and I'm just left being really unimpressed by Treyarch's efforts again, which is a little disappointing, because I went in with low expectations to this game, and I just kind of was left going, oh, it's okay. But I was really hoping that they would do something special, and that they would get a bit of a revolutionary sort of release in the franchise, and do something new and exciting, and sort of leave their mark for the first time in a long time. And, yeah, I don't know, they just kind of, I think, played it overly safe, maybe, or just didn't really come up with anything that totally reinvented the wheel. It's just kind of, you know, so bait experience. And the full game, maybe the rest of the maps are really thrilling and exciting and change things up and maybe there's some aspect of the Omni Movement that I don't even know about yet that just will blow my mind, but so far I definitely am not seeing that being present within the gameplay. Also, love to make a little bit of joke that they were kind of mentioning that they didn't carry forward operators because they wanted to have a grounded sort of military setup, and then we've got zombies running around in the beta. Kind of a little bit of a funny aspect there, so yeah, I think this one's going to be very safe and similar. Like, they've moved from forking their sort of aspect of the engine to kind of just embracing the usual inline Modern Warfare thing, because they usually fork the engine and do something a little bit different with it, but that's what makes this feel a little bit like Modern Warfare, but maybe not as good. Still has that sort of signature Treyarch sort of look, but it's kind of missing that sort of grit and style that makes their entries look a little bit unique. And it just kind of, again, it just feels like a bland step down visually from what we were seeing with the previous entry, Modern Warfare 3.2. And when I played this game, I just continuously get that aspect where I'm like, I'd rather be playing Modern Warfare 3.2. You know, and it's not the greatest feeling when you're going to be stuck playing this for a year, and you're kind of just like, I really wish this was better than it is, because it's kind of sort of middling, and, you know, again, different people are going to have different kind of opinions on the gameplay, but I just really was expecting something a little bit different, something a little bit more exciting. You know, mix it up a bit, something a little out of the box. Obviously playing with the confines of what a Call of Duty game is, but doing something new and exciting, especially with the era too. I don't know if trying to think if we've had Call of Duty games actually specifically presenting the 90s, and I don't think so, unless it's been like a little showcase here or there, but yeah, it's weird. Is there like no one else on my team? I just like feel like I just get shafted covering the Series S in terms of like how matches and things kind of go for me, and yeah. I mean, I definitely think the 1440p mode gives you a lot better clarity, because, yeah, doing the 120Hz mode is just really, really, really rough on this one. It's certainly, that dynamic resolution is kicking hard to get this running on the Series S. You can definitely see. And I'm sure the devs have kind of tried their best in regards to making sure this runs as good as it can on this platform. But it is kind of funny that, like, you know, it is such a stark contrast compared to what I'm used to visually. Even for the Series X version, where I don't think it is very aesthetically pleasing. It's even kind of a larger step back on the Series S, obviously. But, you know, the console, they do what they can with it. They try to make it work, and that's always appreciated. And I think if you're used to what the Series S is, because you've been playing on it for, I don't know, maybe years now, or you got a few different games on it that are kind of like, you know, the big tier games, you should be kind of well within the ideal concept of what exactly the Series S kind of provides for optimization, what you can get out of it. It's amazing that it has 120 FPS mode, so that's great. And I guess I'm kind of just looking forward to reviewing the Series S full package release of this when it does come out. You know, it's nice to take a look at the beta for this game, as always, and see what it's doing on this platform, because I always find it to be utterly fascinating what they're able to achieve with the Series S. And, yeah, it's okay. I don't know, the beta's fine. It may sound super negative, but, you know, at worst, it's just kind of, like, bland and disinteresting, and makes me want to play a different entry in the series, but I think we'll be having an interesting year ahead in terms of covering the full game. And I am very curious to see what Treyarch is setting up for the rest of the experience as new content gets trickled out, new maps become available in the beta, and we eventually get to see the full release of this game and do some comparisons and have some fun answering the Call of Duty like we do every single year. It's just part of the whole, you know, chain of marketing and playing COD and seeing how it evolves and adjusts every single year is doing the betas and diving in, haha, and seeing what they have to offer. So, as always, it's a lot of fun to take a look at the Series S versions and see what they can do, and it should be interesting to do this again next year, and then, of course, with the full launch coverage of the Series S review. Look forward to that, and then we'll have more streams and other things, too, to dive into and talk about as we see this evolve towards launch and get the campaign, the zombies, and the multiplayer all acting together. Who knows where it will be, but for now, the Series S is doing about what I would expect for it. The gameplay being so-so.